poem is called How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot, but the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. Or it could be, perhaps, that his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Who, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm-lighted windows below in the town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy right now, hanging up a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas. It's practically here. For he knew tomorrow all the Who girls and boys would wake up bright and early, and they'd rush for their toys. And then, oh, the noise, oh, the noise, oh, the noise, 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 noise. That's one thing the Grinch hated, the noise, 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 noise. Then the Who's young and old would sit down to a feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, 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 feast. And they'd feast on Who pudding and rare roast beef. That's something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. Then they'd do something he liked least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing, and the Who's down in Whoville would stand hand, and the Who's would start singing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming, but how? And he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch, the wonderful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat. Then he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat. Then he chuckled and clacked. What a great Grinchy trick! With his hat and his coat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around. But since reindeer were scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No! The Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max, and he took some red thread, and he tied a big horn on top of his head. Then he took some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. He said, giddy up, and the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. All the windows were dark, quiet snow filled the air. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, this is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed. Then he climbed up the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch. But if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue. Then, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. These stockings, grinned the Grinch, are the first things to go. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile most unpleasant around the whole room, and he took every present. Pop guns and bicycles, roller skates, drums, checkerboards, tricycles, popcorn, and plums. Then he stuffed them in the bags, and the Grinch very nimbly stuffed one by one up the chimney. Then he slunk to the icebox. He took the Who's feast. He took the Who pudding. He took the roast beast. He cleaned out that icebox as quick as a flash. Why, that Grinch even took the last can of Who Hash. Then he stuffed the food up the chimney with glee. And now, grinned the Grinch, I will stuff up the tree. So he grabbed the tree and he started to shove when he heard a small sound like the coo of a dove. He turned around fast. He saw small Who, little Cindy Lou who was not more than 2. The Grinch had been caught by this tiny Who dove who got out of bed for a cup of cold water. She stared at the Grinch and said, Santa Claus, why? Why are you taking our Christmas tree? Why? But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, and he patted her head. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side, so I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here. And his fib fooled the child, and he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who got to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuck the tree up. Then the last thing he took was their log for their fire. Then he went up the chimney himself, the old liar. On their walls he left nothing but some hooks and some wire. And the one speck of food that he left in the house was a crumb that was even too small for the mouse. Then he did the same thing to the other Who's houses, leaving crumbs much too small for the other Who's mouses. It was 15:15 dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze, when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with the presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he drove with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Pooh-pooh to the Who's, he was grinchiously humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up, I know just what they're due. Their mouths will hang open for a moment or two. Then all the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. That's a noise, grinned the Grinch, that I simply must hear. So he paused, and he put his hand to his ear. And he did hear a sound rising over the snow. It started low, then it started to grow. But the sound wasn't sad. Why, the sound sounded merry. It couldn't be so, but it was merry, very. He stared at Whoville. The Grinch popped his eyes. He shook. What he saw was a shocking surprise. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, were singing without any presents at all. And with his Grinch feet ice cold, without any presents at all. He hadn't stopped Christmas from coming. It came somehow or other. It came just the same. And with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, he stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. And the Grinch thought of something. He had it before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And what happened that day? Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light, and he bought back the toys and the food for the feast, and he himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast.